Bedtime Stories with Grandpa. The Boy Who Cried Wolf. Once upon a time, there was a shepherd boy who looked after a flock of fluffy white sheep near a quiet little village. The sun shone down on the grassy hills, and the sheep munched happily on the sweet-smelling clover. But the boy was bored. Day after day, it was the same. Green grass, soft clouds, lazy sheep. He tossed pebbles into the stream, chased grasshoppers, and even tried to balance sticks on his nose, but nothing made him laugh. So, just for fun, he cupped his hands around its mouth and shouted, "Wolf! Wolf!" His voice echoed through the valley like a bell bouncing off the hills. In the village below, people looked up in surprise. Farmers stopped their chores. The baker paused his work, and even the old tailor carefully stepped outside. Mothers gently guided their children indoors, and the blacksmith hurried up the hill. They rushed toward the boy, ready to help keep the sheep safe. But there was no wolf. The boy burst out laughing, though he knew it was wrong. "I tricked you. There was no wolf." He giggled, rolling in the grass and kicking his heels with delight. He laughed so loudly that the sheep lifted their heads curiously, wondering what could possibly be so funny. The villagers frowned. "That's not funny," said the blacksmith, his face serious. "You shouldn't pretend there's trouble." An old grandmother shook her finger, saying gently, "One day you'll wish you hadn't done this." But the boy only smiled and waved as they walked back down the hill, shaking their heads. The next day, the wind blew clouds across the sky, and the sheep huddled together on the hillside. The boy leaned back against a rock, twirling a long blade of grass in his fingers. He thought about yesterday's trick, even though he knew it was wrong, and chuckled softly. Then, with a mischievous grin, he jumped up and cried even louder, "Wolf! Wolf! Help! It's coming!" Again the villagers came running, some worried, some annoyed, all out of breath. The baker had flour dusted across his worried face, and the tailor paused to catch his breath as he climbed the hill. But once more, they found no wolf, just a boy, laughing so hard he could hardly stand. "You believed it again," he squeaked, wiping tears of laughter from his eyes. The villagers exchanged frustrated looks. "This boy doesn't understand," sighed the blacksmith, shaking his head as they slowly walked back. Then, one dusky evening, a cold wind whispered through the trees. The sheep stirred uneasily. Birds fell silent. Even the crickets seemed to stop their song. A shiver ran down the shepherd boy's back. He stood up slowly, looking around. The bushes rustled strangely, and he thought he saw something move quickly between the trees. His heart began to beat faster. "It's just my imagination," he whispered nervously, trying to reassure himself. But then he saw it clearly. A pair of bright, curious eyes peered out from the shadows. A big, soft-furred wolf stepped softly into view, looking more curious than fierce. The boy's eyes widened with worry. He took a deep breath and cried out urgently, his voice shaking, "Wolf! Wolf! There really is a wolf!" If you're enjoying this story, give it a like and subscribe for more magical tales. Down in the village, people paused, looked up, and shook their heads. "Not again," sighed the baker, returning to his loaves. The blacksmith hesitated briefly, then continued working carefully on his craft. Nobody believed the boy's worried cries. A real wolf, hungry and curious, crept closer to the unsuspecting flock. The shepherd boy's heart began to pound quickly in his chest. His eyes widened as he realized this was no trick. This wolf was truly here. "Wolf," he shouted urgently, his voice trembling. "Please help. It's really here." He ran to the edge of the hillside, waving his arms desperately to catch the villagers' attention. He shouted louder and louder, "Someone, anyone, help me!" But down in the cozy village, people paused only briefly. Inside their warm cottages, they shook their heads sadly. "He's playing again," sighed the baker, placing fresh bread into the oven. "We won't fall for it," muttered the tailor, carefully stitching his cloth. No one moved. No one believed. The wolf noticed the boy's worry and paused for a moment, sniffing the evening breeze. He didn't hurry. Instead, he stepped quietly, letting out a low, uneasy whine that made the boy's heart beat faster. In an instant, the flock grew frightened. Sheep bleated nervously, their eyes wide with surprise. Bells jingled loudly, echoing through the hills as they scattered in every direction, looking for safety. The shepherd boy stood frozen, watching helplessly as his fluffy white sheep hurried away into the twilight, chased by the wolf. In that quiet moment, standing alone on the hillside, the boy clearly understood. No one believes someone who doesn't tell the truth, even when they're finally honest. And so, the little shepherd boy learned a very important lesson. If you trick people, they might not believe you when it really matters. Telling the truth and being honest helps others trust you, and that's something very special. Always remember, being truthful is not just the right thing to do. It's also how we keep each other safe.